said to me, he says, your insurance is okay, your license is okay. He said, but if your insurance wasn't okay, we would have had your car towed off of the highway immediately. Excuse me, I say to Peter Andrews today, you cannot deprive me of my property without due process of law. And you would have to have an order, I would have to appear in court, and I would have to have my say, and the judge would have to render a decision to take my car off of the Taconic Parkway.
Right?
That's not only the Fifth Amendment federal, but that's the 14th Amendment state. See, the federals, when they sent out the amendments, they had the Fifth Amendment, the due process law, but the people wanted protection from the state denying their due process of law. So the amendment reads that any person who is a citizen of the United States is also a citizen of the state in which he resides, and the state cannot take, he cannot be seized, or he cannot be jailed, or he cannot, any right without due process of law. That means you have to go to court first and get an order.
Well, you're right on that, but now they contradict themselves because they have, especially I think on Long Island, they have county laws.
Oh, well, honey, all county laws, all municipal laws are superseded by federal law. If you have the same issue in all three, federal, state, municipal, federal law supersedes, and state law will supersede county law.
I don't know how they still get away with it.
Because people don't know the Constitution.
Yeah.
And people don't stand up for it.
You can tell them to them right to their face, and they ignore you. They don't even...
They ignore you because they don't know enough to sue the judge. Always sue the judge.
No, it sounds like you have a good case there. You're right, it should have been dismissed on the grounds of speedy trial to begin with.
Yeah. But, you know, they want the money. Okay, anyway, it's a great thing, and I always can do it. I hope Peter Andrew doesn't drive.
Well, it would be an interesting case on the Supreme Court. I would love to see that.
Yeah, it would be very interesting. I love those things, you know, because people just don't stand up for their rights, and somebody's got to stand up for the rights. So when we had the storm in 2008, and we had a storm such as you did. It knocked down all the trees and brought the power lines down with them, and we were out of power at 7 days, and the high school sheltered us. And there's some kind of a New York law that they would have the New York troopers at the school sheltering us for 4 hours, alternating with the county sheriff for 4 hours. And they had 2 personnel each time. And one of the New York State troopers, when he came and he said to me, his name was Bob Wagner, he says, you gave my buddy a hard time. I said, who's your buddy? And he says, Peter Andrews. He says, I watch your show. He says, I watch your show all the time. I find it very interesting. And so he was talking about, you know, this case with Peter Andrews. I said, and then he said to me, there's no quota. And I said, where is your proof?
Look, there is.
Sure.
Yeah, around that, they don't call it a quota. They give it a different word. And I forget what it is, but it means the same thing, obviously.
Interesting, isn't it? And so that trooper kept coming, and I began to like him very much. They're all very good looking. They're all handsome and they're all handsome specimens of manhood. And I said that about Peter Andrews. He was. Oh, and when the trial was over, I was still rather amused by the whole thing. And he was right beside me, and everybody was getting... Oh, by the way, the courtroom was packed with New York State troopers. And they heard me, you know, revealing to the public all of their schemes and trickeries. You know, they heard it, all of them.
Right.
And so when I stood up and Peter Andrews was right next to me, I said, God bless you, Peter Andrews. And I shook his hand, and we left.
See that?
Yeah, no, I was amused by the whole
argue with them on the spot because, you know.
No, it's not wise to. And I would never argue with a judge in court, even though I knew right then and there that he was wrong and was violating statute and violating Constitution. I always waited until I got home, and then I wrote a paper and said where they had violated the law. Get out of the courtroom, because they'll just lock you up. You don't have to do anything wrong to get locked up.
Well, all they have to say is contempt of court, and that's the end of it.
Yes, and the contempt of law, there's only two contempts of court. One, you don't obey an order, and two, you upset the courtroom situation. Those are the only two contempts. But they don't care. And as you say, they're ignorant, and so they'll say contempt of court no matter what. And you don't have to do anything wrong. And you're in court, like Richard Fine. He's in court now for a year in solitary confinement. Because he wouldn't answer a judge's order to disclose his financial status.
Wow.
And the reason he wouldn't is on principle, because the judge took $40,000 from the county to issue no order against the county, and the judge wouldn't disclose that on his financial statement. So he's been in solitary confinement for a year in Los Angeles. And that's what these programs coming through are going to be about in April. That's what A Chat with Glendora is about.
Ah, very good. Very good. Well, that's a good thing because people need to know this stuff that's going on.
Yeah. Now, if a cop ever stops you, ask him, what was your reason for stopping? Because the Fourth Amendment says, no summons or warrant shall issue, no search or seizure shall issue without probable cause. They have to have probable cause. And it will not issue without an affidavit or under oath. It has to be under oath or affirmation. And it has to state in particularity what person is to be seized and what papers are to be seized. Because the Fourth Amendment says you are to be secure in your home, in your papers, in your person.
Right.
So the Fourth Amendment is very, very important. If I were you, Andrew, I would read the first, the second, the third. No, the first is all important. That's freedom of speech. The second is you have the right to bear arms, which means you can go outdoors in January without a sweater. The Third Amendment is that you don't have to house a soldier. But the Fourth Amendment is extremely important. The Fifth and the Sixth. The Seventh is jury trial. And the Eighth is no unreasonable bail or cruel punishment or unreasonable fines shall be issued. And then you go to the 14th. If you just knew those, you're all right.
No, I knew those because I was on the grand jury once.
Oh, you were?
Oh, yeah. And there was a case where, same thing, the police officer pulled somebody over, and he said it was because the taillights were out, so he was facing the other way. I said, are you out of your mind? There's a large review mirror. I'm like, you're out of your mind. I'm like, no, it's not probable cause. And I'm like, and then he found all these problems. I'm like, well, you found that afterwards, after you pulled him over. You didn't find that, that wasn't because there was no reason for you to pull him over.
That's right.
So I dismissed it. I was like, you're out of your mind.
Good for you, America.
Yeah, well, you know what I'm saying? It's like the police, they think, problem is you give them absolute power and then they become corrupt. It's ridiculous.
Absolutely corrupt, yes.
And
But that's our fault, because we don't stand up for what's right.
well, that's another problem.
Another thing, too, I wanted to ask you long ago, and maybe still today you could do it. You should have sued Cablevision for denying your right for collective bargaining.
Well, I kind of did, but the problem is they were found not guilty on that because they lied and said they were losing money, and that is the reason why they laid everybody off.
And they got away with a lot. Sure, with the crooked judge, because the crooked judge got a whole lot of money. Okay.
Well, yeah, I did bring him to court for that.
Oh, good.
And the judge, now first he took the case because he said the timing was completely ridiculous, as they would suddenly lay off 40 people a week before a union election.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It sounds pretty fishy to the judge. So the trial took over a year.
Oh.
We had many witnesses. Plus written letters from Cablevision threatening the union and whatnot, which is illegal.
Yeah?
And they weren't found guilty on that, though. They were found guilty of unfair labor practices.
Oh,
However,
good for you.
yeah, but they had all this cockamamie nonsense paperwork that said they were losing money. So the judge said they would have laid everybody off anyway on the grounds that they couldn't afford it.
What was the judge's name?
I have that. Matter of fact, it's online. I did a whole website about it.
Oh, good.
And you know what's really funny? Their lawyer wrote me a threatening letter that said I had to take it off the internet on the grounds that it was, one ground was breaking the copyright rules because I put the letters up that they sent.
But the letters weren't copyrighted.
Oh, and they're my property if you send it to me.
That's right. That's right. When it's out of their hands, it's your property. Was that with Callaghan? The lawyer with Callaghan?
Oh, it was,
Satterley, Stevens, Birkenberg?
yes.
Yeah.
It was I forgot the name of the lawyer, but it's all on the website.
Well, his name is Callaghan, and he lied. That's all. You had every right to keep that on the internet. And besides, it's the internet.
Exactly. Well, that's another thing. Well, basically, I kept it up on the internet. I didn't back down. I said, I wrote back to him on the internet, pointing out all the nonsense that he wrote, about copyright rules and things like that.
Oh, he lies like crazy. He's dead. Okay, go ahead.
He tried to scare me into, taking it down.
Yeah, that he could be sued for that too. Yeah, okay.
And I tried to do that. I wrote to the bar. I put a formal complaint to the bar about it.
Oh, the bar is just as crooked as he is. The only thing you can do is sue him.
Right. Well, it's a box garden against the hen house, right to the bar, obviously.
Sure. Well, and so you kept it up there. That's a hate page?
Yeah, well, I just call it the truth page. They don't want to call it the hate page. I call it the truth, because it is the truth.
Because James Dolan said to you at that annual meeting, oh, you're the author of the hate page.
Yeah, well, these are misinformed. It's called the truth page, and it is the truth. And just because it's against Cablevision, you can call it a hate page, sure. But what gets me is the moment that their trial was dismissed, and they were found not guilty, on the grounds that they were losing money, they turn around and buy a very expensive helicopter.
Yeah.
Well, and then they expanded News 12 to New Jersey,
Yeah.
Bronx, and Connecticut.
Yeah.
That,
In Westchester.
yes, and Westchester. So that takes an enormous amount of money to do that. So they're trying to tell me they're losing money and they had to lay people off.
Yeah.
The moment
Yeah.
that they're double,
You could have asked for a new trial on the basis of new evidence.
well, they said it was double jeopardy.
I don't think so. You've got new evidence. Not in the federal court. In federal court, it's Rule 60B.
Right.
If you have new evidence, then you can ask for a new trial, you can ask for reconsideration. Let's put it that way. You ask for reconsideration on the basis of new evidence.
Well, I did have the lawyers appeal it, and that just fell through too.
Yeah. Oh, sure. They got jerks.
And
Yeah,
the union lawyers try to appeal it. I'm sure they all got paid off this.
Yeah. Callaghan died a very, very ugly death of cancer, and he was extolled by the New York Law Journal, he was also the lawyer for Gannett when I sued Gannett.
Oh, right.
Gannett newspapers, and they wrote this elaborate eulogy, and I took every phrase of it. Every phrase of it pointed out where it was a lie and where he had lied.
Very good.
For instance, they said it was how Caligari liked to have all of his papers perfect. Well, they were all wrong. He had the dates wrong, he had everything else wrong. And so it was good. It was really good, and I read it on TV. In fact, that keeps coming up. Somebody keeps putting that program up, what I wrote about Caligari.
Really?
Yeah, the lawyer who lied to you.
Wow.
Oh, he's terrible. And Caligari tried to get out against my suit about Cablevision, when I sued Cablevision for taking my program off the TV. He tried to get out of it, first of all, by saying in New York State, Franklin went out and served Charles Dolan in person. He went out to his house and served him.
That's great.
And so he gets out of that by saying in New York State, no summons shall issue on a Sunday. Well, that's good. Yeah, that's good. So next time a cop gives you a summons on Sunday, go to court because you can't do that in New York State. So, all right, so he did that. And so Franklin goes out again and serves summons out on Oyster Bay. Dolan on Oyster Bay.
Right.
And so we're in the courtroom, Caligari and I, in Bryant's courtroom. Bryant is dead by now, too. And we're in Bryant's courtroom, and there's other lawyers there. And Caligari starts talking to me about the service, because you see, they have no meritorious defense.
Right.
And so I just shouted to him. I said, listen, if I hear one more word about this service, and of course all of Cablevision is down on Caligari for causing this personal search, rap on your door. You're called to court. And so they're all down on it. And I said, if I hear one more word about that service, we're going out there and we're going to serve every one of those people at their homes again. Well, then Bryant, when he came on the bench, we were waiting for Bryant to come on the bench, and when Bryant came on the bench, he said, it's too bad that the defendants tried to get out of this on service. It would have been far better for them to accept the service and to go about a meritorious defense. However, they didn't do that. No, so he lost on all of it. In fact, when I took it to the Court of Appeals, Bryant, by the way, ruled that Cablevision was only out there trying to make money, and that they didn't mean to infringe on freedom of speech, and that they really couldn't be sued on freedom of speech because they were not a government actor. They were not a state actor. And so I went back and I actually called the FCC and actually got some help for the last time. That's the last time the FCC's ever helped anybody. And he told me, you look at 531E, which says that no cable operator shall exercise editorial control over public access. And I had the recording of Tom Gardner, who said that the corporate didn't think that public access was a place for you to talk over a personal lawsuit.
Right.
So that was editorial control, and I had it on audio tape. So I went back to Bryant the next day, and with his Rule 60B, and I said, this is a motion for reconsideration on the basis of new evidence. And Bryant lied that I had already taken the case to the Court of Appeals. I had not. He out and out lied.
Wow. Wow.
And so he wouldn't touch it, because he knew I had it. And so I went to the Court of Appeals with him. Well, the Cablevision at this point didn't trust Caligari, the guy who threatened you.
No, it was Mark Fowler, actually.
Oh, Mark Fowler wrote the letter to you?
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. So they had Cablevision. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, I put the letter on the internet, and they got so furious that they called my boss.
Oh, that's dirty. Oh, you could have sued them for billions.
Yes, they told me I had to take the website down or I'd lose my job. Because they were giving Sport TV a hard time. They said they would take them off Cablevision if I didn't take the website down.
Oh, that is so dirty and so juvenile.
Can you believe it?
Well, what happened?
Well, I took it down for one day. Like, I told my boss I took it down so I could keep my job. And everybody was happy. And then the next day I put it back up again.
And you never heard from them again?
Never heard from them again.
Do you think that had anything to do with the court TV? That was years before you left.
That was afterwards. So, in other words, I got fired from Cablevision. Then I got a job at Court TV, and I had the website up against Cablevision, showing the court dates and their letters and everything. And they were so furious they wanted me to take the website down. And they found out where I was working, and they literally threatened Court TV that, because Court TV is on Cablevision, but if I don't take that website down, they're going to take off Court TV off of Cablevision, which means they would lose millions of dollars. And so my boss pleaded with me that we can't lose all this money, can you please take the website down? So I took it down that one day because I didn't want my company to lose the money. Plus, I didn't want to lose my job. But it's blackmail. That's what that is.
Yeah, and you didn't sue them, huh? Because you would have lost with court TV. How many years after that were you discharged from court TV?
14 or so.
Oh, okay. But you would have been, if you had sued them, you would have lost your job.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, isn't that dirty and juvenile? That's how they are.
Oh, of course I know. And they get away with it all the time. And the whole company is based on lies and breaking laws.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. You're so right.
I mean, when they first became a cable company, and they disregarded all the rules, and they strung their cable along the East River, which was illegal for many reasons, including safety reasons. But they did it anyway, and they thought they would get away with it. And one day there was an incident where somebody was breaking the law and the cops were chasing them. The guy jumped into the East River, and all the photographers took the picture of him jumping in. And right in the picture was all the Cablevision wires along the East River. Someone questioned, what are all those wires doing along the East River? There's a picture of it in the paper. And they found out it was Cablevision's wires, and illegally put there. And sort of get fined and whatnot. The city of New York said, oh, well, they're already there, and they're doing some good for the business or whatever. And they just turned their heads and said, oh, well, they didn't get any trouble at all. No fines were paid. And they constantly get away with breaking the law. It's just, when they do it, it's fine. But when somebody else does something, right away they scream bloody murder. They want to get their justice. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's driving me crazy.
I repeat, it's so juvenile the way they do it. It's so juvenile. It's like kids.
Yeah, the thing is they do it more and more because they're encouraged to. The more they get away with, the more they want to, break the laws of law and see what else they can get away with. And, unless somebody cracks down on them, they're just going to keep doing it. So, it's a vicious cycle.
But their day came. It wasn't Cablevision then. It was Sterling Manhattan. And their day came because they lost it. They couldn't keep up with the expense.
Yeah, they had they bought Newsday, and they already have News 12, so there's really no other choice. But you can't get your Long Island news from anyplace else. They have a monopoly on that now. You know, they're constantly trying to grab hold of whatever they can to form monopolies and make more money. And, it just never ends with these people. It's pretty scary because they trample on everybody. They have no regard for their subscribers. They have no regard for the companies they have to work with as far as the networks to provide the programming. And they make it a habit to take off any programs that they don't agree with, either financially or philosophically. So they use their power to put whatever channels they want on their cable system, and they use that against the subscribers, and they use that against the companies that provide the programming services. And they use their subscribers as hostages. And which is wrong because the subscribers are paying for a service. They take that service away from them, and the exact service that they're paying for, just so they can get their own way with the networks. I can't believe it goes on and on and on. They get away with it all the time.
No, they didn't get away with ABC and Disney and the Oscars.
That was the first time ever that I've seen that they back down. And it was only because they have competition now. Suddenly, when they don't have a monopoly, and Verizon came in, now the playing field is even, and things have changed.
Verizon and satellite.
So it's a good thing that there's competition, but that should have been implemented a long time ago.
Yeah.
They should never have been able to form a monopoly on Long Island to begin with.
Yeah.
To beat up 11 other cable companies, in order to form a monopoly, and no eyebrows were raised, no questions were asked. There's something wrong with that. And whoever was responsible for that to happen, they should all be ashamed. And I'll tell you something, it was all these greedy people who took their money and turned the other way and let it happen.
Sure.
And it's all money. That's what it's all about. And that's why this came to be. And I'm glad now that there is competition, but for all these years, since the late 70s, I would say, cable vision existed. People have been suffering, because they had no other choice. Either buy cable vision or, try to get an antenna to work. And that's basically how it was. And for many, many, many years. And you can't take that back. All the billions of dollars that they took from people, because they were able to charge whatever they wanted, overcharge, I should say. It's just unheard of. These people, they walk around with billions of dollars in the bank, and it's all because, they had an unfair advantage. It's just not right. It's just totally not right. It really, no one says a word about it. Nobody says a word.
Well, I think what says the word is that the subscribership is going from 430,000 down to 200 and something. 200,000.
Yeah. Well, it's like, the pressure has been building all these years. People were so fed up, they had no other alternative. And now that they do have an alternative, it shows exactly how many people are fed up with the service they were getting and the prices they were paying. And it goes to show that competition is not only a good thing, but it's something that charge the most money. And, you know, people just don't have a choice. Either pay it or leave. And then people end up having to leave, which is absolutely ridiculous. You should have the freedom to live wherever you want and not be subjected to all these fees and unfair costs of living, which is absolutely ridiculous. It seems like the more taxes you pay, the less service you get. It's absolutely crazy. If you can go to another place in the country, pay half the taxes and get the same services, and there's something wrong with the way the state is being run. And, you know, it's just corruption left and right with these politicians. You don't stand up for the middle class, stand up for these big businesses, and it's got to stop.
It's not going to stop. It's never going to stop, Andrew.
Yeah, it has to, because of government.
It was that way in the trial of Christ before Pontius Pilate, 2,000 years ago. We're not going to change it, Andrew.
Well, you know, they keep trying to, you know, make the middle class pay more and more. It's going to get to the point where we can't afford it anymore. And there's going to be a revolt. People are going to say, I can't anymore. This is it. You know, and finally, you know, when that happens, I hope people stand up and speak out and, you know, stop this whole nonsense. Because you can only go so far with this. People can only afford so much. And it gets to the point where they just can't even survive anymore. And that's when people put their foot down and say enough is enough. But, you know, until then, people just tolerate it. Terrible.
I am sorry. You are certainly right. It's a bad situation. There's one thing I'd like to say, just a footnote, that it was a long time before Cablevision got all of Long Island, because the Brookhaven system was owned by TCI. And it was owned up until about 2000, when through some trick, Cablevision got John Malone, the head of TCI, to go onto the board of Cablevision, and they swapped the Brookhaven system and and some other systems. They swapped them.
Yep.
And then Cablevision got control of these other systems, some of them in Westchester, and then Cablevision got control of Brookhaven, and that finally gave them the whole island. But not until then, and that wasn't until like 2000. Just a footnote.
Right. No, you're right. They were the last holdout. But, you know, out of 11, they took them all eventually.
Yeah. Oh, they did.
And these were big companies, too. They were Viacom.
Yes.
You know, they were big companies. There were Adams Russell. There was, yeah, like you said, TCI. You know, very, very big companies.
Yeah.
Of course, there were small mom and pop outlets, too. There was Huntington Cable, for example, which they illegally got by not giving them certain programs.
Three.